Hello all, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss about Microsoft Azure Virtual Machine skill set. So let's start. What is Azure Virtual Machine skill sets? So, a virtual machine skill set service is used to create a set of similar and load balanced virtual machines. It is a fully managed platform with the ability to increase or decrease the number of VM instances based on demand or schedule. So let's understand from one of the example. Basically, suppose I have a e-commerce applications, and we generally observe that on a weekends we are getting a lot of traffic in our virtual machines, in our web applications. So in that case, what we want on those particular days like weekends, I want the maximum number of instance to handle the load and availability of our applications. So in that case, to solve those particular issues, we generally use a virtual machine scale set, because based on the demand, we basically increase the number of virtual machines or decrease the virtual machines. So skill sets provide high availability to your application and allow you to centrally manage, configure and update a large number of VMs. So suppose I have a 20 VMs and those VMs are identical, like same applications is distributed on all the 20 VMs. So it's very difficult to manage the configuration of each VM. So with the help of Azure Virtual Machine skill sets, we can centrally manage the configuration of all the instances which we have. It could be a n number of instances. Virtual machine skill sets are the objects that are used to run multiple instances of your application and maintain a consistent configuration across your environment. So basically that's the purpose we should use Azure Virtual Machine skill sets. So in Azure Virtual Machine skill sets, we have an option called scaling. So based on scaling, we increase or decrease the VM instances. So we have two types of scaling options here. One is horizontal scaling, or we also call it as a scale out or scale in. So it is the process of adding or removing one or more virtual machines from a scale set depending on the load of the application. This scaling happens in a horizontal way. Means if we know that we are getting the lot of traffic on particular days, we can increase the number of VMs. Basically, we are going to add the more instance in the scale sets. That is called a horizontal scaling. So this scaling is used when user need a certain VM for some interval of time during which load on the application is more, and then remove the machines after that particular period. It's the same example we have taken for e-commerce application on a weekends. Here, rules to perform auto scaling are mostly metric based, as adding or removing the machines depending on the application's demand. So we will see those metrics things, like how we do auto scalings in next slides. Next, we have a vertical scaling or scale up or down. So it is a process of adding the resources of machine like CPU, RAM, disk space to scale sets depending on the load of the applications. In horizontal, what we are doing in horizontal, basically we are increasing the number of virtual machine instance. But in vertical scaling, what we are doing, we are increasing the configuration of the virtual machines like disk space, CPU, RAM, etc. So for example, in vertical scaling, you have 1 core CPU and 4 GB memory, and if you can upgrade this configuration to 2 core CPU and 8 GB memory, this is called a scale up. Basically, we are increasing the configuration of virtual machines, so that is called a scaling up. In similar way, you can reduce the configuration back to the baseline, which is called as a scale down. So that is called a scale up and scale down. In vertical scaling, resources are mostly added to increase the capacity of machines. So in normal cases, generally when we use vertical scaling, when we need to add more resources on the virtual machines. This scaling is used when the user needs to improve the performance of the particular scale set, as CPU performance is degraded at this time. CPU resources are added to the particular VM skill set to increase the size of machines. So this is called a horizontal and vertical scalings basically. So in this particular image, as we can see here, this is the option of vertical scaling. So here if you see, we have a small size of virtual machines, and gradually we are increasing the size of virtual machines. What we are doing here, we are adding the more disk, more CPU, more RAM. This is called a vertical scaling. And in horizontal scaling, what we are doing, we are adding the number of virtual machine instances. This is called a horizontal scaling. Now here we will see how basically virtual machine skill set automatically upgrade or downgrade the number of instances. So that is called auto scaling. So Azure virtual machine skill set has the ability to scale up or down the number of VM instance based on the load on the service in Microsoft Azure. So these auto scaling rules are two types basically. First one is metric based, another we have time based. So in metric based we have specified, like if my CPU percentage goes beyond 50% or less than 50%, then we want to increase the number of instances like 1, 2 or 3. So we can specify those things. We will see in a demo those things. Next we have a time based auto scaling. We know generally weekends we are getting a lot of traffic, a lot of load on the applications. So we can configure those particular days, like we need to increase the number of instances by 2, 3, and the rest of other days we need to remove those instances. So those things basically we can achieve with the help of auto scaling. Next we have an important concept called availability zone. An availability zone is a physically separated zone within a Azure region. Azure region, like I am in central India. So here I have a 3 Azure availability zone 1, 2 and 3, and they, like all these 3 zones are separated with each other, like they have their own power, own cooling, own infra basically. So if one zone is getting down, then our data or applications will automatically replicate to zone 2 and zone 3. So those are the concept of availability zone. So availability zone expand the level of control you have to maintain the availability of the application and data on your VM. So basically there are 3 availability zone per supported Azure region. Each availability zone has a distinct power source, network and cooling, as we discussed. If one zone is compromised, then replicated apps and data instantly available in another zones. So basically for high availability purpose, we generally use availability zones. Next, there is an important concept called orchestration mode. So scale set orchestration mode allow you to have greater control over how virtual machine instances are managed by the scale sets. So there are 2 types of orchestration mode: uniform orchestration mode and flexible orchestration mode. In uniform orchestration mode, you define a virtual machine model and Azure will generate identical instance based on the model, like some kind of template basically we will define here, and on that base basically Azure will create a VM instance for you. And in flexible orchestration mode, you manually create and add a virtual machines of any configuration to the scale sets. So you have the flexibility to create your own configurations VM. This is called a flexible orchestration mode. So let's see in a demo basically how we create a virtual machine scale set. So I am in my Azure portal. So first thing what we need to do here, we need to create a resource group, and under resource group we are going to create a virtual machine scale set. As of now I don't have any resource group. You can see I have a default network watchers, which is generally created by Microsoft itself. So I'll just create a new resource group here called scale set, and I'll keep the region here Central India. Oh, sorry, it's Sweden Central. Okay, where is Central India? Okay, so I'll just review and create. So now I have created my resource group called scale set. So under this resource group I am going to create a virtual machine scale sets. So here what I will do, I'll search for a virtual machine scale set. Okay, so I have a subscription free trial. Resource group I have created a scale set. Name I'll specify virtual machine scale set VMS. Location, it's automatic taken Central India because I have my resource group in Central India region. Availability zone, as we discussed, so we have here three zones: zone 1, zone 2 and zone 3. So it's just for a demo purpose, so I'm going with none options. But for real environment, generally we have to choose as per the requirement, zone 1, 2 and 3. Orchestration mode, so we have uniform, optimized for large scale, stateless workload and identical instances. I'm going with flexible one here. Security type, I'm keeping default standard. Image, I'll choose Windows Server 2019, sorry. Size, I'm fine with the size. As per your requirement, you can select the particular VM size. So I'll just specify my credential here. Next we will go to disk, so I'm going with the default options here. Networking, so I don't have any virtual network, so it is going to create a new virtual network for me called ScaleSet VNet, and this is a network interface card. So here what I will do, I'll just click edit here. So I'll just verify the option if I need anything from here. So network instance is going to create with the name of ScaleSet VNet NIC01. Subnet, it's fine, you can choose as per your requirement. Basically, network security groups, I'm going with basic. Public inbound ports, okay. Here what I will do, I'll select RDP port because I have to log into the one particular VM to see the metric, basically CPU percentage. Based on that we will configure scaling. So I want the public IP address to be assigned to this particular VM. Yes, I have enabled it. If you don't want, you can disable it and you can use the load balancer here, but I'm not going with load balancer now. I'll just click on OK. So here if you can see, we have an option called load balancer. So because here what will happen, your virtual machine have a direct public IP addresses. So in most cases it's not recommended to assign a public IP addresses. Like you have to basically, you're going to expose your virtual machine to the outside, to the world. So it's for best practice, it's called like we have to use a load balancer. So your VM set should be behind the load balancer. So it's just a demo, so I'm not going to create a load balancer. If you want, you can create a load balancer, just click it from here, or you can create a separate resource, because load balancer is a separate resource, separate services, so it is going to create for you. So you have to specify all these details and you can create it, but I'm not going to create a load balancer here. Next, scaling options. So initial instance counts, like when we create this virtual machine scale set, so how many number of instance we want in initial. So it's 2, but I am going with default 1. Scaling policies, so I want customize it basically. So here minimum number of instance I want 1, maximum number of instance I want 2. Now we have option called scale out and scale in. So CPU threshold I have a space of 75% here. So if my CPUs goes beyond the 75, then it will increase the number of instance by 1. If you want number instance to be increased by 2, you can specify 2. I want 1. And duration in minutes. So in particular 10 minutes, if your virtual machine is running for 10 minutes and its CPU load is beyond 75%, then it will increase the instance by 1. So minimum we can keep it here 5 minutes. Now we have scale in. Scale in policies, if you okay, so here basically what we are going to do, the scale in CPU threshold should be less than the CPU threshold of scale out. So for example, if I'll keep here 85, it will not take, because value must be smaller than the scale out CPU threshold. So here what I will do, I'll put 74 and number of instance decreased by 1. It's fine. Next I'll go to management. So here I don't want anything because I don't have an Azure AD. I am keeping everything default. Health, if you have to enable application health monitoring, then you can choose these options. Suppose if you have one of the web application which is running a particular port, So but I don't have any applications which is running which I want to run, so I'm not going with monitoring, health monitoring basically. Next we have advanced allocation policies, max spreading. Next we have fixed spreading, not recommended with zones. Anyways, I have not chosen any zone here. I have configured with none options. I'm keeping default here, max spreading. Now this is the important part, custom data. If you have to configure any software or you have to run any script on those particular virtual machines, then we can specify those details under here, custom data. I don't have anything, so I'm keeping it also default. Okay, these all things also I don't want. Next I'll go tags review. So it's running validation. Okay, validation is passed, so I'll just simply click on create. So deployment is started. It will take minimum 5 to 10 minutes, so we'll wait till 5 minutes, then we will see. So our deployment is completed. We'll go to resources. So now if I go to my instances, we can see we have here one instance is running, and in overview you can see I don't have any public IP addresses because I have not configured any load balancers here. So if I'll go to my instances here, we have enabled the public IP address for this particular VM, and we also enabled the RDP port, if you remember. So what I will do, I'll just log in this particular virtual machine. And we will see what's the load here. So I have CPU percentage 32%, and if I'll go to my so if I'll go to scaling here, what we have configured, when CPU percentage more than 75%, then increase the VM instance by 1. So as of now I have the CPU percentage only 5%, so it's not going to increase because I don't have any load on this particular virtual machine. So what I will do, I will modify this scale out and scaling threshold values. So here what I will do, I'll put CPU threshold 5%, update, and similar scaling also I will put 4%. So at least we can see in real time how basically it's create the instance, increase the instance, or update and save. And this particular CPU threshold should be run for 5 minutes, because if you see here, maximum duration we have specified, minimum duration we have specified 5 minutes. If I'll go here again, duration we have specified 5 minutes. So I'll go to my instances again. I'll just refresh it. Let's see. Okay, it's not going to create now. We'll check the performance here. So it's not consistent. It's getting fluctuate. So what I will do, I'll install some of the features to put some load on this particular virtual machine. So at least our CPU threshold increase by the 5%. So it will start creating the instance for us. So I will do. Okay, I'll choose one of the service and will install it. Okay, DNS server. Okay, we'll choose some small services. Okay, we'll go for a DHCP server. Next, and some failover also I'll choose to keep some load on this particular virtual machine. If I check now, it's increasing. Okay, it's not working out. Install. So if we will see the load, it's increasing more than 5%. So we'll and it should the load should be for at least 5 minutes. Then it will start creating the virtual machines. Like basically it will increase the instance for us. So we'll wait for 5 minutes. So if you see my CPU percentage 100% and it start creating the new instance for us. And in similar way, if CPU percentage below 4%, then it will automatically remove the particular instances. So that's how basically a virtual machine skill set works. Thank you so much. See you in next video. Thank you.